Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Our guest this version of the show is a really good thrower from back in the day. Kasey Sanders is our guest. Kasey, do you want to just give us a quick background on like when you graduated, general PBL experience, and then we'll get into the throws side of this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I graduated from PBL in 2010. I participated in a lot of different things while I was at PBL. Volleyball, basketball, track, FFA, community service club, big brother, big sister. I was pretty involved in a lot of different things, and so I was sure to keep busy.
Awesome. Do you feel like basketball and volleyball really helped you as a thrower? Because we don't see that a whole lot in high school now. You see a lot of girls in club volleyball or AAU basketball.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there was a lot of different things that kind of helped. Basketball, for sure, the weights and conditioning side of things kept me ready to roll for track. And then volleyball, I feel like it just takes your whole body to play the sport as well as throwing. So I thought that kind of, I don't know, I really think that those sports help keep you in shape for the spring.
Awesome. So you did some throwing at PBL, and we'll get to the throws coaching side in a second. But talk to us a little bit about where you are now and what you're doing, just career-wise.
Yeah, so I teach 4th and 5th grade at Thomas Paine Elementary in Urbana. This is my 6th year there. And so that's been kind of crazy, switching things up here. I'm also in my 5th season as the Urbana High School assistant coach for track and field, and I am their only throws coach. So that's kind of been pretty fun over the years. A little bit different than 1A back in the day. So
yeah. So you're coaching boys and girls then for Urbana?
Yeah. So the way we have our program set up is we have a boys head coach and a girls head coach. And then the assistant coaches have their like specialty areas.
Gotcha.
And so we have a jumps coach, we have a pole vault coach, throws coach. So it works out that way.
Awesome. So this is kind of one of those back in the day questions. So you qualified, I think, 3 times for state shot. Talk a little bit as an athlete, because when you were throwing, we had, let's see, Danny Bunch and Kelsey Card, both of which Kelsey Card is thrown in the Olympic Games. So talk maybe a little bit about that as an athlete, being able to watch those two.
I would have to say that I had like a starstruck moment the first meet that I got to throw against Danny Bunch. I think we have a picture from News Gazette Honor Roll meet where she was like in the background of a picture, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever because we were in the same place at the same time. But I was also a sophomore when she was a senior, so that was kind of crazy. But at the same time, like she was local, so it was cool to like get to watch her career blossom. And then Kelsey Card won state 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Wow. Like all 4 years that I was there. So watching her go from winning as a freshman to winning as a senior was something that was really cool too. And then watching her compete at the Olympics was just like a crazy experience that I don't know.
Two pretty good throwers.
Pretty good being an understatement.
Absolutely. So talk maybe a little bit about, I guess, things you learned as an athlete that maybe you do now as a coach, or kind of that obviously because you've got more experience in the throws versus someone who would coach throws who hasn't thrown before. So I guess maybe chat a little bit about that.
Right. So I threw all 4 years, and I would definitely say that I liked shot put a lot more than discus.
Mm-hmm.
I had Coach Carly, and so we would butt heads every now and then, but it was funny because he'd always say, "You're doing both no matter what." And so I would and not complain. And I think that was something big too. Like, I'm glad he made me do both because it opened my eyes to learning both. I may not have been very good at discus at the time, but looking back, now like when I get in the ring with my kids, I prefer to throw disc now.
I
Which
gotcha.
I think is kind of funny because I hated it in high school and I hated that he made me do it and all that stuff. So I really push my athletes to do both, or at least attempt both. And there's positives in both because I have some kids who were hardcore discus throwers, but then they had a whole new appreciation for shot put after they went through everything. And so same for switch. So I don't know. I just think that that's really cool. They may hate you in the moment, but it's something that I think they'll look back and appreciate.
Yeah, that's cool. Seeing the connections between both, kind of a similar question. For girls, shot put, especially collegiately and at the elite level, you see a lot of ladies that are doing rotational shot now versus glide. How do you kind of approach that with your high school kids? Because I know, some programs are just glide or just rotational.
Right.
So like for a kid coming into your program in Urbana, like how does that process work?
So my thought process through it all is that it kind of depends on what they had before they got to me. Our middle school this year just got a pretty decent throws coach. In years past, there hasn't really been one. And so when they came to me, they came kind of blank slate. And so from the standpoint of it, I would ask them, I'd show them videos and different things. I'm like, which one do you think you're more interested in? And a lot of them would say glide, which shocked me because that was what I did. And since then, I've obviously learned the rotation and all that, but whenever they say glide, I'm like, okay, let's roll. And so I think at the freshman level, a glide is a lot easier to kind of pick up because just because of the balance of it all, and having to like hit your points in a rotation is a really hard thing to understand before you learn the basics.
Sure.
And so I let them pick. Most of them choose glide. So like this year, I have no upperclassmen throwers for girls. They're all freshmen. So that was something that it really tested my patience, along with going back to the basics and really making me go back and relearn the basics and teach them. And going lefty with some of them has been fun too. So
yeah, that's like a left-handed pole vaulter. It's just you have to stop and think a whole lot about it. Yeah, that's cool. Kind of a related question on that. Like, I think with the whole shutdown, like it's easy for us. Easy for like a distance runner or a sprinter to just say like go run, but like from the perspective of a field event coach, like how are you like struggling with that? Is it really like how have you adjusted to that?
It has been really hard. The fact that I'm not going to practice every day has been the hardest part, I think, because I get into the groove of practicing with them. And my body hates it because I'm not throwing right now and all that stuff. So that's been really hard. I just encourage them to like work on core and little upper body if they can. It's really hard to do whenever you're teaching someone from the ground up. To like their form. And I don't know. This has been really hard because I've had kids contact me and they're like, well, what can I work on? What can I work on? And it's hard for me to find things for them to do because without me being there with them one-on-one, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I think there's some things you can only learn by throwing. It's kind of like pole vault. Like there's certain pieces of it that we can't, put together. I think your throwers are probably like pole vaulters because my pole vaulters are always like one more vault. So your throwers are probably one more throw. And for them not to have all those reps is going to be pretty hard. Maybe one last question and then we'll kind of wrap it up. This has been a good little like coaching conversation. Advice for younger throwers just in general, or maybe just like for any athlete in the PBL program, like you're walking in as a sixth grader, you're walking in as a freshman, just advice in general.
I think the biggest one is to have an open mind and be willing to learn new things. I was very gung-ho on just doing shot put, and I remember that, and it was hard to open my mind to discus and really learn that form, because I didn't do it in junior high. I only did it in high school. And so it was hard, but doing that has opened it up to me liking disc more now as an adult than I did as a high schooler. A few other things would be like, don't be afraid to like become friends with your competitors. I think in field events, it may be a little bit different than running, but sometimes you're off on your own and your coach may not be there, or like other teammates may not be there, and you just need someone to like lean on. And some of my best friends came from other schools while throwing in high school.
Sure.
So yeah, I've really appreciated other like distance runners coming over and trying to learn more about the throws.
Yeah.
And really getting, like, they want to understand the backside of it. They don't want to just stand there and watch. And so Urbana's distance runners, I can almost count on every single time being at a throws event before they run. So
yeah, that's cool.
I always think that's pretty cool. So don't be afraid to like ask questions and try and figure it out more.
Awesome. That's really good advice. So I'll wrap up the recorded portion, but thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.